Hello, everybody. Welcome to Audit the Vote Newsroom. I'm your host, Toni Shoup. Yes, that was a new intro video. Clearly not as pumped up as exciting as the other video that we've been using. We're going to make some changes here, but highlights the fact that we did it. We got across the finish line. Can you even believe it? We actually did it. He is inaugurated. He's officially our president, our real president, the 45th and the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. It is a relief that we got over the hump. I think it is finally soaking in that it's real. I think a lot of us, especially in this election integrity freedom movement, we're waiting for the next shoe to drop. What is next? We just don't know. And yet we did it. So we're going to talk a lot about that because I had the opportunity to go to the inauguration, which was incredible. I've got a very special guest who had an inaugural ball party the Sunday before the inauguration. So we're going to bring her on shortly and share more about that. But before we do that, if you are watching this, please like, share, and subscribe on whatever platform that you are watching this video. We are on, I think, everything from X to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Twitch. We're on them all. So like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to get the word out and take control of the narrative. I think that's one of our biggest win. Oh, and hit the bell. That's right. Hit the bell so you get notified when we're live. We're doing this every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So go ahead and hit that bell so you get a notification on your phone. If you're like me, you're getting pulled in a million different directions, and those bells keep us on task. The worst is when the bells go off and you're supposed to be somewhere that you totally forgot to get a notification, email, calendar saying, oh, you had an appointment at such and such, and you're not there. That is my least favorite feeling, that there's no physical way I'm going to make this. I've totally screwed up. If that is you, welcome to the club. All of that to say, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Certainly the inauguration, the pardon of the January 6 hostages. I saw someone call it that term, prisoners. Trump signing a ton of executive orders. We got a cool video we're going to show you from Rick Green about the executive order, the intention of it. How do we know when they're using it constitutionally and not? But the first thing we're going to do is get to our special guest. So Joel, bring on the amazing Ashley Duff. Ashley is a Pennsylvania resident. She has been collaborating and working with Audit the Vote essentially from the beginning. Ashley, I think the first time I met you was when Dr. Frank, it might have been before this. I think it was when Dr. Frank came in May of 2021 up to Newcastle, Pennsylvania, to have our first fundraiser. That might have been when you and I met, but Ashley was already on the ground in her own county, organizing, getting people together and trying to figure out what are we going to do about this electoral mess. And then she connected with us and off to the races we were, and we've kind of been together ever since. We're going to talk about this and show pictures. She came with us to see President Trump in the summer of 2021, so she got to have dinner with us and him. She is very active in her own county. She's in a new position we're gonna highlight. And she also ran for a county commissioner seat, of which I had the pleasure of being a greeter for her at the polls. I got to watch them count mail-in ballots in Washington County as her authorized representative. She's been to all the summer Lindell events with us, and Ashley's just a real trooper on the ground. Very similar story to mine, just a mom. But before I get ahead of myself, Ashley, why don't you share with our listeners just a little bit of your background and how the heck did you get involved in this crazy land of politics?
Well, Toni, my story is so much like yours because we were just moms. And gosh, if you would have told, I think, either one of us that this is where we would be in 2025, we would have laughed you to scorn, right? I mean, just no way were we going to be in politics. I am ashamed to say that I really didn't even know the difference between a Democrat and Republican probably in 2019. Like I'm just being so honest. I was a very strong believer, strong Christian. So I knew that I was pro-life, and that made me a Republican. And that was about all I knew. That was
Did you vote? Did you vote?
Yeah. Yes, I voted based upon, in 2016, I clearly remember voting because everybody said Trump's going to put in pro-life Supreme Court justices, and that is huge. And so you need to vote for that reason. And that was about all I knew. Honestly, I was just always very involved in ministry, didn't think politics mattered at all. And I thought, gosh, you just give them Jesus. Like what else is there to do? And so it was been a really big learning experience for me. And so when the year 2020 happened and everything was basically on fire, literally, from COVID to the riots to the election, everything, I was like, what is happening? Is somebody going to do something? Like, who's in charge?
Why are the wheels falling off the bus of the world, so to speak?
Yes. Why is this happening? And who is responsible and who has any authority? And that's what woke me up, and that's what got me involved. They say people are motivated by vision or pain. And so I think it was pain that got me involved. And I have 5 kids. And so I could not just sit by and let these things happen. It's my family, is everything. And I took that seriously, that I had to figure out what was happening. And so it was a very steep learning curve. I had a lot to learn in a very short amount of time. I felt like I was constantly reading and watching and just trying to catch up where everyone else I thought, probably was. But now that I'm on like the other side of that mountain, I'm like, oh my gosh, most people have no idea what's happening on this side. People don't know. And so now, like you say, we have to educate. Education is key, and the fix is local. You're so right.
Yep. Lesson learned our first year. So when I think you and I met in May of 2021, correct me if I'm wrong. How did you get involved in election integrity stuff? Because you had already built a group when we connected. You already had people that were meeting. You were already on the ground trying to go, we got to fix this.
Well, like I said, after 2020 happened, one of my main focuses became election integrity. I felt like everything was blowing up, and I thought, okay, so I need to figure out one place to focus my attention. And to me, that was election integrity, because I figured if I can't know that our elections are free and fair, then I can't fix any of these other issues. If we're having problems, with COVID shutdowns and mask mandates and stuff, well, that I need to get someone elected that's good, that can fix that. And I can't do that if the elections are all rigged. And so I hunkered down on election integrity. And as I was trying to learn and understand, the first thing I realized was, oh, we need an audit. And so I started focusing heavily on trying to get an audit. I live in a red Republican county, and I thought this shouldn't be hard. Trump won here. I'm not trying to overturn my county or, all the crazy stuff they say. I just want to look at this. And I was met with extreme opposition, but along the way, I found a lot of great new friends who thought the same way that I did. And that's how, we got like a little group started, and we began going to commissioner meetings and, requesting from our county commissioners that they look into things, and, found Dr. Frank, and, some people had referred me to you ladies, because I was trying to find answers, trying to find network and help. And they were like, oh, you should, check them out. And so I started reaching out, got connected with you guys, went up to the Dr. Frank event, and the rest is history.
So that is the first time we met then, was May of 2021, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, me and Karen and Jamie were just like a bunch of 2-year-olds banging pots and pans, making enough noise and started getting enough attention. We did a rally in Harrisburg on the steps of the Capitol in our state in April. And after that rally, I think we had just crossed over 15,000 signatures at that rally. And that's when things really started to take off. And the rest, like you said, the rest is history. So we connected with you in March, started trying to help each other out. You ran the canvassing effort for us. In June of 2021, early July, we crossed over 120,000 signatures on our petition, which I'm sure you and your Washington County team were a big part of helping us get there. And then, of course, those that have been following us for a while, if you don't know, we had the honor of getting to go have dinner with President Trump. At the time, a lot of people on the conservative side were running from the idea of election integrity. Most of the standard, I guess, establishment GOP was just telling us, move on. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. And so it wasn't exactly popular at the time in the political landscape to be on President Trump's side, where he was still, I'm so thankful that man never stopped saying that 2020 was rigged, including at his inauguration speech on Monday. Right? Thank God that he sees it and he gets it. And I just feel a little extra skin in the game, the fact that we've been with him from then, because a lot of people turned on him, obviously. And so when he called Karen and Jamie and I in July of 2021 on the phone and told us, come on out to Bedminster to my golf club, we'll have dinner and bring some of your stars with you. Everybody has stars. That's exactly how he said it too. Bring some of your stars. And so the three of us got together and tried. It was next to impossible to whittle down. It was really hard to whittle down. Who should we take? Who should we not? So we tried to at least set, okay, anybody that's leading a canvassing effort, if they're running it on their own, we'll at the very least see if we can bring them with us. And Ashley was leading the Washington County effort. So we reached out and asked her to come with us. And I know you've gotten pushed back in your own county because you have a picture. Joel, get ready to queue up those pictures. Maybe the first one, show President Trump with the petition. We actually printed out a copy of our 120,000 signatures. It stood over a foot high. And at Bedminster, when he walked in the door, there was about 15 of us there. The first thing he did, we took a picture. He went over and do you remember him just grabbing it right off the table?
Yeah.
What was going through your head when he walked in that door? I remember I had taken off my high heels because my feet were not feeling the greatest. And someone said, Toni, he's here. Get your heels on. And so I was literally putting my shoes on, I think, when he walked in the door. Do you remember what was going through your head like when he first walked in?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, he's here, because remember he was late coming down, and so we just kept eating appetizers. Well, actually, I wasn't eating; I was too nervous. The servers kept coming around with trays of appetizers, like, oh, do you want to try this? And I was like, I can't. I was so nervous. And then when he finally came in, I'm like, oh my gosh, here he is. And then this was right after Afghanistan. And I just remember as soon as he stepped in the room, he started, going with his hands and talking about the equipment that was left. And yes, and the lives that were lost to the soldiers. I mean, and he was so upset about it. And I was like, wow, like that is just the same way you would see him on TV, right? He wasn't pretentious or a different person, versus what you see him as. And I just thought he was himself. And that was awesome.
So cool, you guys. That was Ashley. And this was our whole group. So he was late in true Trump fashion. Of course, he was late. But we really did not know what to expect in this meeting. We thought we were just going into, I should say, have a business meeting. I had a clipboard with me with questions because we had been doing so much on the ground to try to right the ship in Pennsylvania. We knew an exorbitant amount of things had gone wrong. And so I wanted to ask his opinion. Like, what should we do? Here's what we've done. What do you think about this type of lawsuit, that type of lawsuit? And I thought we'd maybe get 30 minutes around a boardroom table with them. No idea that they hosted us like we were guests at the club. And ended up, they were slowly setting the dinner table for us while we were waiting for him to come in. There it is, Trump National Golf Club. We're waiting for him to come in, and they're giving us hors d'oeuvres and drinks. And then they slowly start setting that table for dinner. And I think, am I telling this accurately, Ashley? We're realizing, like, are we eating dinner with him? Like, do you remember that?
I know when he comes in the room, he says his introductions and everything. He's like, come on, everyone, come on in, have a seat. And so we're now sitting at dinner with him, and he's serving us his Trump burgers, and he was very concerned with how's the burger? Do you like it? And he's just eating and talking with us, and he really wanted to hear what was going on. He wanted to hear from us. You hear that, like, people will tell stories about knowing him prior that he was president, how you'll always find him on a construction site talking to the person in the corner who's swinging the hammer. And that's true. He's talking to us. He wants to know from us what's going on in Pennsylvania. And he just has the knack and the foresight to know that the people who actually have their hands dirty are the ones who actually have the information. And so I just love that about him.
This is just the coolest thing ever. This is people you don't know. It's Jamie and her family, and her husband and kids were able to come with us. But the reason we have these pictures, first of all, thank God we brought, my husband and I have it's old now, a nice Nikon camera. My husband went through a brief period of time in his life. He thought he wanted to get into photography. So we bought a nice camera. Thank God we took it with us, because they took our phones as soon as we walked in, confiscated our phones. So we would have had no pictures. But basically, my husband had the camera. Before we sat down to dinner, behind that wall, there's my husband. Everybody lined up, and my husband snapped, and it was just one person after the other. That's how we got all these pictures. My husband was the photographer. I think I took the one. I then grabbed the camera off my husband and took the one of them together. And I think at this point in time, Ashley, I think this was, my husband stepped back and is like, I think we got to get a picture of the fact that he's sitting right there talking to her, because it is still one of the most surreal things. What do you remember about the dinner with him? Ashley? Anything you talked? I can't remember where you were sitting. You might have been
So
sitting the same side I was.
yeah, I was on your same side. I was probably like 3 down from you. And I just remember his curiosity and his interest and what we were going to say of what we were seeing on the ground in Pennsylvania. He was very interested in what was being reported, but what we saw. And he wanted to hear our responses to that. And like I said, I was just very floored by that, how much he just wanted to know. And then I think in that one picture you saw, he's sitting there, signing hats for all of us, making sure that we're served, worrying about our food, making sure he signs hats for us. Like you said, he took a picture with each one of us individually, which I'm glad you're putting these on here, because like crazy kooks in my county say that I photoshopped myself in there and that I was never there. They're like, we know President Trump, we've been to events. They don't take phones. You're lying. They didn't take your phone. I'm like, okay, you guys know. You guys know, right?
Joel, show the picture of all of us again. Like this was our whole team, and actually maybe I think Jen Steele from Butler, she had to leave at this point, but this was after he left. I think one of the servers said, "Well, you guys want a picture together with all our signed hats?" And we were like, "Heck yeah!" So this is it. We were definitely there. There's 15 witnesses. So anybody in Washington County that thinks Ashley was lying, we have 15 other people that witnessed this entire experience. And we couldn't have gotten there without each and every one of them, and all of you that are out there watching that still are supporting us on this crazy journey. So thank you. Yeah, that is actually one of the most, and now that he's back in the Oval Office, I think it's even more surreal. I don't know if you felt it the other night at your party, but it's like we had dinner with the man. Like, what is going on? I still sometimes pinch myself. Like, it's been a rough road, but we've had some pretty cool blessings along the way. And this was, in my opinion, by far one of the biggest ones.
Amen. Amen. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree. I mean, people like us are meeting with the most powerful man in the world. I mean, that's crazy.
Bunch of random moms. Oh my gosh. So speed up all of that. Ashley, she stayed on the ground. Actually, Washington, talk a little bit about how you almost got an audit in Washington County and kind of how that, because that led to, I think, one of the reasons why you ran for commissioner 2 years ago and got close. But talk a little bit about that, what your efforts in Washington, what that led to.
Yeah, like I was saying before, that was our initial focus, was we were trying to get an audit done. And we were told by our county commissioner at the time that, yes, you can have an audit. And we actually have this thing called an election review board. And I think there's an opening and we'll put you on it. And you guys are the ones who get to decide, what that audit will entail and, the scope of that and everything. And I was like, shocked, my jaw's on the floor, because if you guys, if your audience remembers back then at that time, this is probably like March, April 2021, everybody in America who was, a patriot and election integrity focus or was working on something very similar, and nobody was getting anywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have it. We're in a swing state. Oh my gosh, this is huge. And
we're going to save the country.
Yes. And so, of course, as I'm sure you guys know, the story goes, your own side fights you more than the other. And we ended up not being able to have one. They completely reversed course. And so we hammered down on these commissioner meetings, and we would bear down like month after month. We would come in there and pound on it. And that actually turned into like a really vigorous group of people that wanted to really see transparency and truthful elections. And so then we started to, communicate more and began meeting, and a patriot group was formed, and we started just plowing forward. And we were so frustrated, and we realized that on the state level, we weren't going to get anywhere. Everything that Mastriano was doing, we understood that we had to focus locally. And so that's what we did. And so we understood that your county commissioner has a lot of influence, at least in Pennsylvania, in regards to your elections. And so after being overly disappointed time after time and never giving up, we realized that we needed to find someone good to run for commissioner. They hold a lot of power, like I said, in that regard, and we could finally get some truth and answers. And so I decided to run for commissioner in 2023, and I lost to my opponent by about like 900-ish votes in the primary. Like I said, it's a red county, so chances are if you get through the primary, then you'll likely win the general, just the fact that you have an R behind your name. And so we were
The establishment
close.
worked pretty hard against you, didn't they? Didn't they send mailers out against you?
Yeah. And so just quick tip of advice to anyone wanting to run, they will attack you. They will smear you. They will say, your photos are photoshopped and make up stories about you and your family, and whatever dirt that they can't find, they'll just make up about you. So just be prepared for that coming in, and just know that it's going to happen, and just ignore it. I mean, they're going to do it to every good person, because they do not want good people running for politics in any way, shape, or form. They have a very tight establishment. They know how to win elections. They know exactly how much money they need to spend here. They know what PACs to go to get it. And so, I mean, we were outspent. I think ours was around like 30,000, and my competitor was around like 100,000 that they spent. And so we're just talking about like a little dinky county commissioner race here. But this stuff matters. And so I will say that I got a lot of flack and a lot of pushback from my own side for doing that. And I, unfortunately foresaw that coming, and that wasn't going to stop me. That wasn't going to back me down. That wasn't going to send me away. And so after losing that race, I just kept going, because it wasn't ever about, making sure that I had some, comfy position somewhere. I just wanted the truth and answers. And so I'm going to keep going whether I've got a title or not. And so that's exactly what I did. And leading up into Trump's election, we were all hitting it so hard. Every patriot group, every, election integrity activist across Pennsylvania, we were hustling, right?
Right.
Like
I just want to point
midnight
out the
meetings.
perseverance that it takes on the inside to keep going, because you probably felt it too. I mean, I was devastated when Mastriano didn't get over the finish line. I was devastated again we didn't get you in for county commissioner. Like the hits are real, the disappointment is real, but you just, I don't know where it came from, but those of us that have gathered all have this common thread where we just know you're going to get punched in the face, but the key is to get back up. Don't stay down, get back up. We're in this together, and we'll fight together. And eventually, if we just don't quit, we'll get a win, which we got. Not only President Trump, but now talk about what ended up happening with you, because that could not have been easy that you lost that county commissioner race, but you stayed in the fight. And talk about now your most recent election.
Yeah. So, just like you said, we just stayed on the ground and we kept fighting, and we've learned it's definitely not for the faint of heart. But having a group, a connection, like having someone like a Toni in your life, or wherever you are, whoever's listening to this, that is so important, because then you can bounce off, and you can, when you have those hard days, you just come together. And we've all been there, and we lift each other up, we pray for each other. I mean, it's just amazing. Anyways, we stayed on the ground here, and we just kept growing. Shout out to Dan Schultz and the Patriot Project. Precinct Project. Anybody who is working that in your counties, well, let me tell you, it's a long game, but it works, because I am happy to announce that 3-ish weeks ago, I was just elected as the new chairwoman of the Republican Party for Washington County. Woohoo! And so now I am leading the Republican Party right here. So we, and myself, and I have an amazing team with me. We are now the ones who are at the helm, who can guide the party into the future. And it's such a breath of fresh air, because we're in it for the right reasons. We know all of our intents and our purposes of being here, and we are thrilled to finally be able to say, you can have faith and trust in the Republican Party locally. And this is the key. This is how we take it back. It's one step at a time. It's the long game, and the Democrats played it on us for so long while we were asleep at the wheel, and we've got to take it back. And this is how we do it. Now that we have, different counties that are flipping like ours did, then we can start to set our sights on the state and then the nation going forward. Obviously, with Trump at the helm, we are in good hands. So it's almost like we're working from the edges toward the center. You know what I mean? So it's so exciting.
Oh my gosh. I finally went. I know it gets, so for those that are getting discouraged, we understand what discouragement feels like. And some people have to step away and take a break for their own sanity. And we don't judge you. I totally get it. Just, if you can get back in at some point, because you get to a point, you learn so much. I hate losing good people that have been in the fight, that they've learned so much. They're a great asset. And then they step away and some of them come back and some of them don't. But Ashley's a perfect example of, she just never quit. She's one of us. Just, I might have to rest a day or two, but we're not going to quit. And so I was so excited to get the text from you saying, I did it on the chair. I'm like, oh my gosh, a win. Did we just win again? Kind of forgot what it felt like to win for a while. I felt like we just kept taking hit after hit. Pennsylvania, we lost the majority in the House twice now. Actually, we're at a deadlock, 101 to 101, because we, unfortunately, a House rep in Allegheny County passed away, a Democrat. And so recently that leaves us at 101. So a ton of stuff to unpack there. And the road ahead is definitely the long game. I love what you said about that too, that we got to play the long game. That's how we got to 2020. If that was your wake up call, like it was for me and Ashley, it did not come overnight. It was a very long, hard fought battle by the left, just chipping away one piece at a time, not worrying about the setbacks, regrouping and continuing. And so we've got to just take a page from their playbook and do the exact same thing. Somebody is asking, she's getting tons of congratulations in the chat. Yes. Somebody is asking Ashley, before we let you go, I promised Ashley would only keep her for 30 minutes. She has 5 kids. She homeschools. Won't even get into all the other stuff that she does that keep her busy. But how can they follow you for news and updates about what you have going on right now in Washington County?
All right. So we have a Facebook page, Washington County Republican Party. You can check us out on there. We're going to be posting all kinds of things. And we're definitely going to be focusing on pushing the right things as the party. How many times have we just been sickened by the stuff that's going on? And I'm just so excited. It just feels so good to be able to say, like, oh, we did it. We took it back. Like, we did it. And I'll just add this one last thing. When we had our election, there's Facebook page. So when we had our election, we had like 4 candidates running for chair. And so I was like around 80-ish votes. My next competitor was in like the 40 or 50s. And then the other 2 were around like the 20s. And so it wasn't like the margin was even super close, which was amazing because, it was like the people have spoken. They've resoundingly asked for a different type of leadership in the county. And so it was really, really refreshing. And I just want to encourage your listeners. It can be done. It is a long road. But look what our founding fathers went through for us, right? They laid down their lives. They gave, everything, their family, everything for us. And this is just our part, and that we have to play in this great story of this American Republic.
Amen. And how could I forget? I'm so glad you pulled this up, Joel, because we're going to show some pictures. Pull those pictures up. Ashley, after getting elected as the chair, she pulled together, her and her team, in less than 2 weeks, an inaugural ball party that I attended on Sunday night down in Washington County. That was just felt so good to be able to celebrate. Finally, she packed the house, raised some money for her committee. And it was just a really cool night. Look at those. Look at those table things. I love the Trump hair. That is awesome. Awesome. Steve Rentz. So he's on that particular picture. And you can chime in here, Ashley, if you want to point anybody out. But on the right is her vice chair, Steve Rentz, who has also been in this fight pretty hardcore, tried to primary his House rep, Natalie Mihalik, who has horrible votes on record against pro-life, against the Second Amendment, and has never really supported efforts for election integrity or an audit, at least not openly and publicly. And he came very close as well. I think also lost by several. It was in the hundreds. It was not in the 4 figures votes, but he stayed in the fight. I think he also ran for an RNC delegate position and might have lost. He lost that too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did.
I mean, so as hard as loss is, it is normal. And people don't
Yeah.
tell you this. I was not raised to know that part of winning is learning how to lose and get back up. And the only way you'll ultimately lose is if you quit. So I hope that those of us that are in this freedom movement, if you don't already know that you figure that out at some point. Can you even believe it? Oh my God.
Yay.
Dinner with President Trump, Lindell events, party time. You had someone DJ, volunteer DJ, lots of dancing, lots of celebrating. This was, of course, I love that, the felon and the hillbilly. Yes. This was, of course, before the inauguration. What were your thoughts going into Inauguration Day while he's going through these pictures? Were you like, oh dear God, I hope he makes it? Were you waiting for another shoe to drop? What were your thoughts?
Well, we had to put so much focus and attention on pulling off this inaugural ball because, like you said, we literally put it together in 2 weeks. We had over 200 people come, this fancy, beautiful, event for people to come to, which, by the way, knocked everybody's socks off that we could even pull this off in 2 weeks because it was, a beautiful evening. And so, like I said, I have an amazing team, like amazing people, and I have to shout out to them all the time. People are like, Ashley, how'd you do it? No. I have a good team. There's some of them right there. Anyway, so my focus was so much on that ball that I wasn't hyper focused on what was happening with him, because otherwise I probably would have been hyperventilating, because I don't know about you, Toni, but when he won Pennsylvania on election night, I was like, oh my God, like, don't get me wrong. We had like blood, sweat, and tears walking over glass for that man to prior leading up to the election. But I just felt like it felt too easy that night. And I was so concerned about what was going to happen between election day and inauguration day. And so once we actually made it through all of the ceremony and he's sworn in, it was like, oh, you could finally breathe. Like, it's real. Pinch me. Somebody pinch me. It's real. And so I was overjoyed. It was like the most amazing Christmas present / blessing / wonderful, whatever you could ever think of. And so it was an amazing weekend because we did this ball on Sunday and then he got inaugurated on Monday. And so it's just amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I thought everybody was asking me starting in the summer, maybe before, but really started in the summertime. What do you think is going to happen? And what ended up happening was at the bottom of my list. That was like, I'll tell you what's not going to happen. What's not going to happen is they're not going to call it election night, no matter what. They're going to fight it out for weeks and no one's going to concede. And I don't know, like, it's going to be a free for all. And yet, what we thought would never happen was exactly what happened. So I completely agree with you. Totally relate. November 6th was like, what is going? This is not. Me and my oldest watched Kamala's concession speech, like creepily freaking. This is not. She's conceding. What is this? The Twilight Zone? So I can relate completely.
No, I think because like we are so deep down in the trenches and we know, we've literally seen the depths that they've gone through, like when we dig through data and we've met people face to face, like we've seen what they've actually done to keep him out. We know what they're capable of. And so to us, it just felt too surreal, too easy. And I for one, just didn't want to like emotionally invest and then have it ripped away, So I was just so relieved when it finally came to pass.
And we're constantly like, what's the next battle? What's the next thing? What do we got to reset for? You almost like live on the edge waiting for the next shoe to drop. So yesterday was a huge hurdle. I'm so thankful. Parting thoughts, Ashley, and then I'll let you go. There's her Facebook page. Follow her for updates on what's going on with Washington County GOP. She's also going to be helping audit the vote in a different capacity. We'll be announcing that later, a few weeks to a month or so away. There's Joel's footage of the party. He did a great job getting pictures and footage, and make sure we get that. Look at that cookie table, traditional Western Pennsylvania wedding cookie table. You can't have a party in Western Pennsylvania without that. Parting thoughts, Ashley. Anything else you want to share with people before we let you go?
I probably would just tell your listeners, like, you can do this. I know that sometimes it feels so insurmountable. Like when you look at the depth of the swamp and the deep state or whatever, it just feels like I'm so insignificant. What could I really do? And let Toni's life or my, example shine to you that we're just regular people. And here we are, leading the party. Toni's leading, obviously Audit the Vote, but literally a movement, and she's doing Patriot Academy. What are you, the Northeast director, Toni? I mean, it's unbelievable. If you will just set your mind to it, trust in God, lead everything in prayer, it can be done. It can be done. Like Bannon would say, put your shoulder to the wheel, guys, and just keep going. I mean, look at somebody like a Mike Lindell, he's given everything to the cause. And so, whatever you could give in any capacity in your county, with your team, give it. It's worth it. Lay it all on the line so you have no regrets in the end.
Awesome. And I would say also a lot of people now are really hesitant to where to give to the RNC GOP. I heard over the last 4 years, I'm only giving to President Trump. I don't want it to go anywhere else. And I understand their sentiment. But I think when it comes to where you are going to give and where you're going to sow some seed, if you know that it's good ground, like if you're going to give to a county party, Ashley's would be one of the perfect ones to give to because we know where the money is going to go. We know it's going to be put to good use. We know she's a patriot. So rather than it's not like you're just throwing blanket money out there to the party, but getting it specifically to her and her team, it will go to good use. So consider that too. Ashley, where can they donate to your county party? Is it on the Facebook page there?
Yeah, when you go on the Facebook page, when you click, about or info, whatever it is, there's a link that'll take you to our website. And right there on our website, there's a donate button. So I appreciate you bringing that up because I would have said the same thing. I'd have been like, oh, donate to the RNC. Are you kidding me? Like a Republic? And, but yeah, you guys can feel comfortable giving, at least in our county. And, we will do their utmost to make sure that your dollars go as far as we possibly can in the right way. Yeah, and we're just so grateful if you choose to do that. Thank you.
Awesome. And she also will, I'm sure, be having Lincoln Day dinners and fundraisers. And so if you're in and around Washington County, anything you can do to support this county party will go towards the right things. And America First, there it is. Click to donate. America First agenda. I wouldn't give to just any county party. I make sure I know who's in charge. And with her at the helm, I would not even hesitate. In fact, Audit the Vote, we sponsored a whole table, bought a whole table of tickets. So thank you. If you donate to Audit the Vote, you indirectly helped Ashley as well. We sponsored a table at her event, and I'm sure it won't be the last time we do that. So looking forward to working with you, my dear, in the next chapter, what it has for all of us. We'll let you sign off and maybe get back to the kiddos, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks again, and bye, everybody.
Oh man. See, we say this all the time. Audit the Vote did not just come out of nowhere all by myself. It was nowhere near was it just me. It wasn't even just me and Karen or me and Karen and Jamie. We just connected and kind of started the party. But along the way, we found a ton of really good people spread out all over the state. And Ashley is just one of them. So it's pretty cool. We get to celebrate and start to make those connections and really make an impact and see what God has for all of us next. I've got a bunch of other stuff we want to cover relatively quickly. Speaking of, we have a Pennsylvania update on the mail-in ballots without a date case. So Joel, if you could get the Hill article geared up, we're going to share that. So if you've been following this, you're familiar that our state Supreme Court finally struck down an effort from the Democrats to try to force the state to count ballots without valid dates. Even though our election laws do require that in Act 77, it has to have a proper date on the outer envelope in order for it to count. They started going to court. Our Supreme Court, shockingly, upheld that decision. So that was one of the things that helped us stop another steal in 2024 is they couldn't do the same shenanigans that they did back in 2020 with these ballot envelopes not being dated or wrongly dated or whatever that was. But of course, the lesson we can take from the left is they never quit. So they appealed the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And just this week, they were shot down. It looked like the Supreme Court was going to take up the case, but they have declined now, basically said, nope, this is a state issue. We are not looking at it. And so there's nowhere else for them to go with this particular case right now. And so as stuck as we are with these wretched mail-in ballots, at least now it is solidified in law and in court case precedent that they have to have dates on them in order for them to count. Now, we could make the argument that look what happened in Bucks County, where the county commissioner basically threatened to count them anyway. It was a veiled threat. They did not end up counting ballots without dates. That doesn't mean that we don't need to stay vigilant on the ground and keep our eyes on everything locally, because we know that they're going to continue. If they're not watched very closely and held accountable for when they do threaten to break the law, how an elected official can actually threaten on the record to break the law and then still have their position. By the way, nothing's happening to her. All that noise, all that stuff, which is great. I think that the activists came out in droves, over 1,000 people, I heard, at that county commissioner meeting back in November. Great turnout, but she is still getting to keep her position, I believe, as the county commissioner, even though, because it was a threat. They didn't actually count the ballots. She just threatened to break the law. She didn't actually break the law. Apparently, if you're a Democrat, you can threaten to break laws all day long, but if you're a Republican and you walk through the Capitol building on January 6th, you might have been sitting in prison for the last 4 years, which we're going to get to that update. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are very relieved, excited, overjoyed, maybe a little bit of mixed emotions on that. We're going to get into that in just a second. Before I get into Inauguration Day and the fact that I got to go, oh my gosh, we're going to get into the executive order list. But before we start showing some pictures, you are right. Vigilance and evil never sleeps. Before we do that, I have a video. President Trump got inaugurated and started signing executive orders day one. The first question that is on my mind, or was before, I knew the answer this time around, was, can you do that? Is he writing law? What is the deal with those things? And so when Joel gets the video queued up, we're going to play a 3-minute video on Rick Green's perspective and some history on constitutional side.
Hey friends,
of
Rick Green
orders.
Here with today's Constitutional Minute. Today, our principle of liberty is going to be about executive orders and other executive actions. There's actually, believe it or not, constitutional executive orders. That can be done in the right way, and every president has done that. But then there are unconstitutional executive orders when the president acts outside of the authority that's been given them by the Constitution and by the statutes passed by Congress. And it just depends on what they're doing and whether or not it's within the law. So look at it this way. When Congress passes a law and a president then executes, uses an executive order to implement that law, that's okay. That's actually Article 2, Section 3, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution. It says specifically that the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. No problem there. That's constitutional. The problem is when the president does something that is the exact opposite of what the law actually says. So it's the exact opposite of what the elected representatives of the people passed in a law and maybe a previous president signed, and now along comes a president and with his pen and his phone decides to reverse that. Or sometimes the president will actually write into law on his own something that Congress refused to do. So it may not be a law they actually passed. It may be a law they refused to pass, and now the president comes along and does it all by himself. Here's a perfect example. This week, the president announced his executive orders that are going to require your neighbor or even your brother-in-law to get a federal background check if they buy your old Glock 19. And that would be because you've chosen to step up to a 6-hour C345. Yes, I'm a little partial to my SIGs, all right? But anyway, that's not the point. The point is the president is doing something that the elected representatives of the people specifically exempted. They specifically exempted personal sales from background checks. A lot of reasons why. We don't have time to debate all that here. The bottom line is criminals don't follow any of these laws. But the point is Congress said no to that. And yet the president comes along and says with just his pen, he's going to do it by himself. That is an unconstitutional executive order. It's basically a thumb in the eye of Congress implementing a law that they refused to pass. Now, depending on how old you are, you might have grown up watching Schoolhouse Rocks on Saturday mornings, kind of like I did. So even if you didn't go through my Constitution class I did with David Barton, or you haven't been through the great one that Mike Ferris did, or Hillsdale College, even if you haven't even read the Constitution, surely we can at least remember from Schoolhouse Rocks how a bill becomes a law. And it's not one person with their pen or their phone. It's actually within our American DNA to say no to law by fiat. We have great constitutional protections against that kind of tyranny, but the only way that our constitutional arms, that's the phrase that Hamilton uses in Federalist 73, the only way that they can be used and stop this kind of tyranny is if we, the people, make sure we have constitutionally knowledgeable public servants in every branch and at every level of government. This has been Rick Green with today's Constitutional Minute.
Sweet. Love that guy. You can get more of these videos on patriotacademy.tv. It's Patriot Academy's streaming service. There's a ton of really good content on there. It is not expensive to subscribe. There's a lot of free stuff there as well, patriotacademy.tv. He does a lot of constitutional minutes, answering a lot of tough questions. I thought that was very insightful, given the most recent, since 2 days ago, we inaugurated a new president who signed a bunch of executive orders. But the first thing that I want to highlight based on that is he said if you've never taken a class or you've never read the Constitution, that is problem numero uno. And where this all started for me and Karen was a Constitution class with Patriot Academy. And so I'm starting my next round tomorrow night at 8 p.m. of Biblical Citizenship in Modern America, designed for churches, but is also heavily weighted on the Constitution. I promise you will learn something. I have never had anybody take that class and feel that it was a waste of their time. It is free to register and attend. Joel's going to throw up the QR code that you can scan if you are free on Thursday nights. If you have never taken Biblical Citizenship in Modern America or any of the Patriot Academy classes, please, I would love to see you tomorrow night. Come hang with us, get educated, have fellowship, get your weekly dose of conservative encouragement. Of course, I don't know that we're going to nearly need that as much as we did over the last 4 years, as we were watching Biden slowly terrorize and burn down, destroy our principles of liberty in our country. We're actually in the upswing. However, in Pennsylvania, do not forget, we do have a governor who has done some really horrific things. And in order to be able to unseat him in 2 years, 2026, if we even have a chance of that, we have a lot of work to do. So now federally, we're out of the woods, a little breathing room, but locally to take our states back, we have a lot of work. So scan this QR code. It will take you to the registration page. For the next 5 weeks on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., we will be gathering for a 45-minute segment. This is going to be a shorter version. If you've taken my Biblical Citizenship, or as we call it on the Patriot Academy staff, BibSit classes before and thought the videos were a little bit long, these ones are much shorter. Edited out some content to make them more absorbable. I guess it was more for the youth that were not sitting through the videos or absorbing as much, as that was the feedback they were getting. So they did this lunch break version. Each video is 45 minutes. We'll have discussion afterwards. And anyone that's ever taken my classes knows what a good time it is and how uplifting they are, but more importantly, how educational they are. I guarantee you there will be things in this class that you're like, I can't believe I didn't know that. And so join me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the next 5 weeks, Biblical Citizenship in Modern America. Now, let's go back to President Trump's inauguration. I don't know, Joel, if you were able to get the part of his speech where I appreciate so much how he just does not let go the fact that they rigged 2020. He's 110% right. If you didn't get it, it's not a big deal. We'll share some pictures. I want to show you the pictures and explain to you how I got to go to the inauguration. Then after that, we're going to go through his executive order list and talk through some of that stuff. We'll close out with a very special announcement about the January Sixers. And then I don't have a funny video this week, but maybe Joel can surprise me, or maybe we'll go play our old intro video, because something about that old one just gets me so stinking fired up that this new one was kind of pleh. Oh, when am I going to do one in Indiana County? You talking about a biblical citizenship class? Reach out to me, Toni with an I at patriotacademy.com, and I will happily help you. We'll get something going if you're able and want to. It's not that far from me. The classes that I do are all via Zoom, that my own personal classes, just because with the 3 kiddos, it's easier to come out to the shed and turn on Zoom, but I'd rather be in person. Just a lot more work to do it that way. Pictures of the inauguration. So originally my husband and I had volunteered to work the inauguration because we just wanted to be a part of it somehow. And as you saw, as it got down to awesome, Darlene, please do that. Please do that. If you want to have one and have me in, I'd be happy to come and speak. But so this is me on inauguration night. On the evening, we thought we were going to actually work the inauguration, and what ended up happening is we took the training 2 weeks before Inauguration Day. And in order to be assigned as a worker on January 20th, we would have had to be there the week prior, volunteering for all the pre-inauguration activities. And with the kids, we just couldn't do that. So we were thinking, oh, son of a gun, we're not going to get to go. And then a week and a half prior to January 20th, I had a good friend reach out and say, one of my national contacts said, I have 2 extra tickets to one of the balls on Inauguration Day in the evening at 6 o'clock. They're $1,500 a ticket. If you would like them, you're welcome to join us. And that was like, well, that's one of the stupidest questions anybody's ever asked me. So we had a lot of stuff to figure out. No idea what I'm going to do with the kids, sitter situation. Hotels are outrageous. I'm sure they were all completely sold out too. They were $1,000, $2,000 a night. So we literally drove down and back the same day on Monday. So we watched him get sworn in on our TV. Go back, Joel, that picture with my girls. I ended up at David's Bridal for the win. That's where that dress came from. Totally forgot David's Bridal has a clearance section. So squeezing my chubby butt into dresses the weekend before the inauguration on the clearance section of David's Bridal so that I could look like I'm way more important than I actually am. And there's my 3 girls. The TV, I guess I might have cropped it out of that picture. So we watched, I was getting ready, watching the inauguration, listening to it on my phone in my bathroom. 2 of our volunteers, incredible volunteers, Barb and Glenn Harris. Barb's our volunteer coordinator for Audit the Vote, came and watched the girls for us during the day so that I took this picture, get all dressed up, snap a picture with my kiddos, and then we boogied on down to DC. We left the house at like 1 o'clock. Oh, thank you, Nikki. And got there just in time for 6 o'clock for hors d'oeuvres and the pre-party before we had dinner. So Joel, you can keep going. The ballroom, that was the ballroom that we walked into. Pretty packed out. There's actually 18. Look at this. There's 18 different inaugural balls going on Inauguration Day where the president and vice president just, I guess, bebop around, pop in and out. Unfortunately, he didn't stop at the one we were at. We were at the American Legion Ball at the Westin in DC. What was televised, all my family was texting me, are we going to see you on TV? I'm like, well, no, because that's the Liberty Ball was the one that was televised. It was a really big one where they had most of the festivities. And I just talked to someone today that said they waited in line outside freezing cold DC in their dresses for 3 hours to get into that Liberty Ball. So it's a good time. It's some sacrifice. There's the hubby. Been a long time, Joel. Been a long time since my husband was in his tux. He worked corporately. Oh, that's fine. He worked corporately in sales for 15 years prior to 2020 and ended up leaving. My husband loves Waffle House. I hate Waffle House. We could tell stories for days about Waffle House, but he loves it. And so we had to stop in Frederick, Maryland at a Waffle House on the way home at like midnight. Even though we just ate dinner, we had to stop at Waffle House so he could eat. There's me freezing outside the Westin in DC with my sweater that he purchased that morning for me at Walmart. This is how fast this all came together. Oh, look, there's Barb and Glenn. Oh, my incredible volunteers, patriots, friends, neighbors. Could not do this, would not be here without him. And look who I bump into at the American Legion Ball in DC. It was like 2 friends seeing each other after a long time, which we got to get him on the podcast, on the show. Ivan Raiklin, if you don't know who that is, Ivan Raiklin calls himself the Deep State Marauder. He has a huge following on X and Twitter. I don't even know what his handle is if you don't know who he is or follow him. But he and I bumped into each other, and Ivan and I have been on the ground for a while from the beginning. So when we saw each other, it was like, oh, we did it! And a big embrace and hug, and of course had to take a picture. And he was crazy. Ivan, yes, Ivan's a little nuts. Love him, love that guy, but he's a little crazy. Do we got any other pictures, Joel, or is that pretty much it? I think, oh, there's my husband on the Metro. This is on the Met. Oh, I didn't send you the picture. I was going to ask you to pull this up. Maybe you can get it. So I am super nostalgic. Nostalgia is my thing. And so we rode that Metro that he's on right there is literally the same Metro that he and I were on January the 6th. So yes, we were there on the 6th. We did not get close to the Capitol. We were sitting on a blanket on the lawn quite a ways away. So we never ended up on the FBI's radar. Thank God, never got a knock at the door or a visit, but we were there and we took a picture. We took a selfie on the Metro. I shared it on my Facebook, Joel. It's a picture of me on top, me and him on top, and then one on the bottom. And the one on the top is us on January 6th. And then when we got on the Metro, we looked at each other and it hit us like, this is the same Metro we were on the 6th. And now you're in a tux and I'm in a fancy dress and we're actually headed to the inauguration of President Trump. Like, talk about surreal. I don't know how else to describe it. But so I did a collage picture that I shared on all my social media. If you don't follow me on social media, search me, just Toni Shoop. I don't know what my handles are. Just look my name up. My Facebook account was recently hacked, so I have a new one. The correct one is just a picture of my face. It is not the family picture. There it is. Yay! There it is. That is the correct. Yes, that is the correct Facebook. If you want to follow me on fascist book, Zuckerberg gonna suck up to President Trump now. There it is. Well, so that top picture is us on the 6th, and the bottom picture on the same metro is us Monday night. And oh, the nostalgia. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it. So surreal. So surreal. Paper vote. I spent the day on Metro talking to Trumpers and handed out water on Sunday at the rally as a volunteer. Oh, see, that's what I might have been doing that if we would have been able to go before Election Day. When we signed up to volunteer, we were just hoping we weren't on porta potty duty. Because like I said,
do you have a fountain of youth that you take or something? You seem to get better looking in this, like from like that to that. How is that possible?
It's called makeup, Joel. There's way more makeup in the second picture, and he's in a tux. I did have friends say that you look better in the second picture. Makeup is a beautiful thing. That's all that is right there. And we do clean up nice. We look like important people when we're all cleaned up. Click on that other picture of me and him, Joel, in the dress, so people can see. No, sorry, the one. Oh, I'm seeing it in my photos. It's in between, like on the left. Yeah, there we go. That one. That's a good one of us too. Look at that. Unbelievable. Can't believe we did it. All right, enough nostalgia and reminiscing. Let's get to the executive order list. Let me see. Joel was awesome and pulled that up. So Trump gets inaugurated. Incredible evening. Very surreal.
I have it here for you. Let me pull it up.
You're awesome. We'll go through the executive orders that he signed, because I don't know, my head, it's like a whirlwind now. It's we're watching, and we're going to, I like that Rick Green prepares us as our staff and says, he's going to tick you off at some point. So I'm seeing so much. Thank you for this. We'll go through this. So many people are freaking out over the AI situation, the mRNA vaccine. And hey, you are allowed to have an opinion. I mean, even backstage, Joel and I haven't had a chance to debate too much, but he's like, I don't like it. I said, well, I don't like it, but I'm kind of, as long as they don't force us to take it, I don't really care what they make. But then there's the idea, are they going to spend our federal tax money developing a vaccine to cure cancer? Why not just cure? I mean, we could debate that all day long. So there are going to be things that his administration is going to do that we don't like. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and let's just go through these one at a time. The first thing, he declared a national emergency at the southern border, which I think, if you listen to the Rick Green video, is absolutely constitutional, because the illegals, they are crossing the border and entering the country illegally. That is law breaking. And so he is signing an executive order forcing them to follow the law, which is exactly what they're for, if you listened to Rick Green's. Reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy, again, constitutional, looks like it, because it's just making asylum seekers stay there while they wait for their paperwork to go through, rather than just letting them pour on over here and then send them to some random state somewhere with a manila envelope saying that they have a sponsor or they have someone that's supposed to take care of them. Meanwhile, a good bit of them are probably cartels or some type of terrorist or something like that. I'm not sure, Darlene, where the list is from. Joel can chime in maybe and let you know where he got this from. Actually, if I know Joel, he probably chat GTP'd this, and that's probably where this came from. The third one, he's ending birthright citizenship. I don't really have a strong. Oh, I know my media guy. Yes, chat GTP. I guess if you just chat GTP, what executive orders did Trump sign on Inauguration Day, January 20th? It will probably spit this out to you. An executive order was signed to end birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to non-citizen parents, challenging the traditional interpretation of the 14th Amendment. I'd have to look more into that one, quite frankly. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. I'll have to look into it. Energy, declaring a national energy emergency, declared a national energy emergency emphasizing increased domestic oil and gas production to achieve energy independence. He withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord. It's been withdrawn, making a shift in international climate commitments. I'm not a, what do they call it, climate change denier. But I'm also not on the climate change bandwagon. I mean, obviously, climate change is kind of like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, that's called seasons. But I don't think our federal tax money should go to initiatives that are necessarily saving the planet. Yes, I recycle. I'm not like totally, I don't litter. I don't believe in destroying the earth, but God did give us dominion over the earth, which means we need to take care of it. But should we be making policy designed around taking care of the earth while we're killing babies? I don't think so. So there's that. Social policies defending gender based on biological sex. This is disturbing that we even have to have something like this. An executive order issued establishing federal policy that defined gender strictly as male or female at birth, affecting various government agencies and policies. I don't know about you, but I am so thankful that the circus is leaving town. That is Biden's illegitimate regime of an administration looked like a circus. If you've seen the pictures of any of them, starting with Dr. Rachel Richard, whatever it is, Levine. And so it's so nice to have like just regular people, common sense in those positions. And they had to define with executive order. I mean, God's got to be up there like, what is going on? That we have to put an executive order out there to define that there's a man and a woman. And oh, by the way, Pennsylvania, our governor, here's a reason to not vote perhaps for Josh Shapiro or to try to find a candidate to run against him, because our government website is completely gender fluid and okay with it. And according to Pennsylvania Department of State website, there are like 40,000 genders or however many the gender identity crew wants to lump in there. And so, yes, this is good on a federal level, but more importantly, why we have to take back our states, because a lot of the states are woke. Ours is one of them. He eliminated diversity, equity, inclusion programs with the administration promoting a colorblind and merit-based society, which the left, I've already seen a ton, is trying to brand as racist. They are so misinformed and backwards. It is nowhere near racist. Thank God, maybe we can get some real Secret Service. And the next time someone tries to blow the president's head off, whether it's Trump or another one, we'll have like legit, accurate Secret Service that are competent in protecting him, and at least as tall as him when they're trying to crowd around him and keep bullets from soaring through the air and hitting him. Government and institutional reforms establish a Department of Government Efficiency. So there is DOGE, a new department aimed at improving government operations, been established with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy appointed to lead. And I do think it is true that Vivek is no longer part of DOGE. He was involved, I believe, in its creation, but it looks like he's eyeing a potential run for governor in the state of Ohio. And so he is not going to be with DOGE anymore. Elon Musk is heading it up. And I need to ask my boss, Rick Green, about this, because agencies, the whole idea of an agency was it should go through congressional approval. We want the people to be in control of the government, and Congress has to pass laws when new agencies come about. And so as much as I love the idea of this agency, I think it's absolutely necessary. I don't know if an executive order is constitutional, and that's how they get created. So I got to do some digging. Either way, I support DOGE. It's necessary. But what I've learned in this journey, especially with my Patriot Academy teaching, is that you want to look generationally when we're making decisions about policy and laws. And we don't necessarily just want to do something for the sake of getting it done, but look at what the impact it's going to have generations down the road. And we don't want the next administration, if it's, oh gosh, I don't even know how the Democrat Party could ever possibly get back in power. That's a separate animal altogether. But you don't want them to be able to do something the other side at the swipe of a pen that isn't necessarily good. We withdrew from the World Health Organization. It's like we're ping-ponging on that one, because he got us out in COVID, and then Biden put us back in, and we're out again. Yay. In, out, in, out. That's just insane. Babbage 3 says DOGE doesn't need congressional approval because it's an existing agency renamed. Well, thank you for that. That is good to know. Very good. Thank you. Law and Order, pardoning the January 6th. Here it is. January 6th, 1,500 individuals convicted in relation to January 6th events have been pardoned. And yes, I know that if you're following that stuff closely, it looks like some of the DC Gulag specifically was holding people back anyway. And it's been a fight in some cases to still get some of those people out. But I think at this point, there might be some that are still stuck in. Don't quote me on this. I don't know. I haven't checked my X feed recently enough to know for sure. But we're going to close out the show with Sarah McAbee's husband is free, and they are reunited. And I've been texting her. I haven't heard back from her yet. I'm sure she has a whirlwind. I saw that Blaze did an article on him. And Joel, maybe we'll cue that up when I'm done going through these executive orders. Let's finish this off. Reinstating service members that were dismissed over the COVID-19 refusal. This is why you do the right thing, even when the right thing seems impossible. To any of the military that stood their ground and refused to take the vaccine, they're going to be reinstated with full back pay. And I 110% support that, because that was an unconstitutional mandate in the first place. Renaming the geographic features. I got to be honest, I don't really care if it's the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, Mount, whatever it is. Gulf of Mexico was renamed has been renamed officially the Gulf of America, and Mount Denali has been restored to its former name, Mount McKinley. I suppose something like Mount McKinley probably had something to do with President McKinley and commemorating his presidency there. So I guess I would probably be in favor of supporting the original history and original intent. All right, Gulf of America, whatever. Executive orders significantly return to policies characteristic of President Trump's first term, with focus on stringent immigration controls, energy independence, traditional social policies, and government restructuring. So there you go. There's the executive orders. Nothing like incredible. I think Biden, I don't know how many he signed the first day. You have to look in history. President Roosevelt, there's a lot of presidents that some of them did thousands in the course of their presidency. And that was not the intent of the executive order pen. Like Rick Green said, it was to make sure that the laws are upheld and followed, not to actually make law with your pen. So I don't expect Trump to abuse that. I think by and large, what he's done is very good, very needed, very much looking forward to seeing what the future holds. Knowing the man is not perfect, we're not going to like every move he makes. I am skeptical of Elon Musk. I'm thankful he bought Twitter, and it looks like he's returning us to free speech, and he fought against censorship, and he appears to be on our side. But if we learned anything over the last four years, things are not always as they appear. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. Oh, okay. Lola Days, Gulf of America drilling can happen just by renaming it. I don't know enough about that, I guess, why do you have to change the name just to be able to drill there? I don't quite understand that.
The going theory is that Biden, before leaving, made it so it cut off drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. So by changing the name, we can drill, because Biden's executive order forbade it in the Gulf of Mexico.
See, you learn something new every day. Thank you for that. Lola Days just said it there too. You guys are more on top of it than I am. This is great. Thank you. So yes, then I support the Gulf of America. I guess it does matter more than I initially thought. Last thing, let's close out. Joel, if you want to show a picture of, I don't know if I got you this or not, Colton Maccabee, Sarah Maccabee's husband.
I've got, and I do have a couple short, very quick, funny videos to end with. But yes, I do have her ex post.
Very good. Blaze Media did an article on him as well that I would encourage you to check out, because his story is one of the most horrific, in that he was attempting to help police officers. He was trying to calm the rioters, quell the violence, and save anybody that was in harm's way, including Roseanne Boyland, who ended up dying that day. There he is. Oh my gosh. What a moment, she writes. After 1,252 long, dark days of captivity, the walls of injustice finally crumbled, and the chains that bound Colton were shattered just as the clock struck 11:59 p.m. on January the 20th. Colton is now a free man, walking out with a full unconditional pardon by President Trump. Promises were made, and they were kept. If you don't know his story, read about the complete miscarriage of justice and the egregious overreach by the federal government against a law enforcement officer just merely doing what he was trained to do on January the 6th. There it is, the Blaze article. This is more than just a release. It's a testament to resilience, faith, and the truth prevailing in the face of adversity. Oh my gosh, look, he's 31 years old. She's 29. He has spent the last 3.5 years of his life behind bars, because I believe he witnessed the murder of Roseanne Boyland by Metropolitan Police. And he would have been a very good advocate for her family to be able to press charges. And they threw him in jail and locked him up. You know what, Nikki, Jake Lang, that's a loaded topic. Jake Lang is. I heard that, let me get back to Colton. There it is. Blaze Media, Tennessee Sheriff's deputy became a January 6th trophy in a lie-filled manifest injustice. And the video and the audio that goes with it clearly show you he's actually giving Roseanne Boyland chest compressions. He's trying to save her life. And they take her, they move him out of the way, and they drag her into the tunnel where she ends up dying. I mean, I don't know how you call it anything but murder. What did they think they were doing? He was trying to help her. This article will tell you more about it if you want to read about it, but praise God. I'm sure we'll be connecting with Sarah and having her back on here to give some updates. She is, I just can't even imagine what she must be feeling right now. I'm sure relieved and excited, but also a lot of wounds. Pray for this couple, please, for their healing, for his and the emotional trauma. From what he's experienced has to be just earth shattering. I just can't imagine what they're dealing with. So continue to pray for them, please, and keep them in your prayers. And I'll do the best I can to get in touch with Sarah and get her back for some updates. What did you think of the bishop and what she said to Trump and JD at the national prayer? Is that the bishop that was like promoting transgenderism in her service or something LGBTQ related? I've seen flashes of that in President Trump. Oh, that's right. Because of Biden? Well, I mean, any like it or not, I have gay friends. I love gay people, but the Bible does say that homosexuality is a sin, and I live my life according to the Bible. And so don't yell. I tell my gay friends, don't yell at me. I didn't write the book. That's what it says. And so if you're going to be a pastor and preaching the word of God, I don't know how you can be openly advocating for sin. That seems a little bit blasphemous, little bit against the way that God would want a pastor to preach, but there's my take on that. Pretty simple. Back to Nikki. Jake Lang is released. That is a really loaded topic. A lot of folks in the DC or in the J6 community are very skeptical of Jake Lang and think that it's possible that he is not what he appears. We're going to have to wait and see how this one plays out. This is heavy, but just keep an eye on it. Look up Kyle Seraphin. He was the FBI whistleblower who came out maybe 2 years ago, interview on Dan Bongino, and exposed the FBI for a lot of their shenanigans while he was there. And he is adamantly goes after Jake Lang for multiple reasons, but just do some digging. Kind of weird that the guy, there's proof that he had a cell phone inside the gulag, a $6,000 cell phone. That's how he was filming things from inside the prison. And the thing is, if you have a cell phone, they know you have it. So why are they letting them have a cell phone inside? A little weird. So I don't know. I can't make any assumptions. I'm just the messenger telling you that some of the folks in the J6 community think that Jake Lang is not who he appears to be. We're going to have to wait and see how that unfolds. And there is evidence to support it. Do some digging on his fundraising efforts, by the way. All of those Give, Send, to Go, all those organizations that he asks people to give money to are not attached to any nonprofit entity whatsoever. There's no record of them. So that's also kind of odd that he's raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. And where's it going? What are the families? Who are the families he's actually helped that he says he's helping? And how the heck is he able to do this from federal prison with no nonprofit attached? Just do some research, people. You never know. Joel, what do we got for a funny video? Let me make sure I went through my entire agenda. I'm way late. We're an hour and 13 minutes in. So you know what, Nikki, Rick Green even did an episode with Jake on the Tavern. And I reached out to Rick and gave him some of the sources on things that I had seen. He was like, yikes. So I don't, again, we're just going to have to wait and see. There's a lot of people I've seen it. I see it in the election integrity movement. There's people with good intentions that are maybe doing more harm than good. I do think there's people that are planted to sabotage things. And it's like that in pretty much every sector of the political space. So really of our world in general. It's no longer DC, it's the city of Washington now. Really? I did not know that. Joel, did you know
that? No, I haven't heard that.
I didn't hear anything about that. Thank you for that, Steve. I think this is one of the first shows I didn't ask for money, so I'm going to do that now too before we wrap up. We have a ton of work ahead of us. We're going to be rolling out our new programs. Audit the Vote is going to focus on 4 key initiatives. We are restructuring and regionalizing things. We're going to work very hard on our very robust poll watcher initiative kind of organically start to continue to build or rebuild this movement for election integrity, we have to get people involved at the local level at the polls. That's one of the easiest and best ways to do it. And I put a series together on the Audit the Vote website that I used in Allegheny County right before the 2024 election. I learned in the state of Georgia. It is way better than the training that the RNC had done. It is way more detailed. Talks about the statistics to track on election day, what to track them, what to do exactly if you see something. More importantly, all the record keeping and the tracking. So we're going to roll that out statewide on a very robust level, monitoring the voter rolls. Unfortunately, our hands are tied somewhat with the voter rolls in terms of how we can get them cleaned up. Captain Seth Keshel said it best. That is the seedbed for all potential election fraud is dirty voter rolls. And the issue that I have with getting on a voter early voting or mail-in ballots or even a voter registration bandwagon, and don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying we don't need to register voters. That is vital, of course. But the other side of the coin is our voter rolls are not accurate. And so Audit the Vote is going to focus more on the accuracy of the voter rolls and trying to get more towards that end than we are on registering voters. So putting together a robust plan to monitor them. And other groups have figured out how to get people to self-cancel that are no longer living in the state and had a lot of success with that. So we're going to defer to them for people that want to clean voter rolls. Monitoring the elections up 50 days up to election day, working on protecting the vulnerable voters with public advocacy campaigns, sending letters to nursing homes, engaging with skilled care facilities, making sure that they are following the law, and then continuing to advocate for a return to hand counting paper ballots. We have a new goal of getting at least one county by 2026, one county to say we're going to hand count and not use the machines, even if we can't get them to chuck the machines, which hopefully the Trump administration will appoint some type of election integrity group, agency, whatever the heck it is you have to do, that they will at least be able to eliminate the use of these black box voting machines that have programmable software on the inside of them. That is the dream and the hope, that the Trump administration will make it illegal to use these things in the first place, which it should be. I don't know if we're going to get there. So if we don't audit the vote, we're still going to advocate. That is as long of a haul as it's going to be. We have to get rid of those machines because one of the quickest ways to go backwards in terms and not forward. Locally, especially, Planned Parenthood is coming after our school boards in Pennsylvania. We've got this year, those 3 judge retention races we need to vote no on so we can fix our state Supreme Court. We have judge of election races coming up, which are the folks in charge at the polling location, at the individual precincts. We need to make sure we have good, honest representation there, bipartisan Democrats and Republicans watching over things. And then I'm sure we'll have school boards and a bunch of other stuff come 2026 municipal elections. And so the quickest way to lose all the ground that we have gained is just to go back to sleep and let the left continue their chipping away tactics. And they're doing that through Planned Parenthood right now, is targeting school boards. I saw something today in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, a school board that was advocating, had an LGBTQ plus family day at a public school and to celebrate that for kids from LGBTQ friendly families. It's just not the place. Just teach them to read and write. Like kids are not sexual. You're sexualizing children, and they're not going to stop. Thank God for groups like Moms for Liberty, who have the protocol down for what to do, how to run for school board, and then how to pass policies once you get in there that are going to protect our kids. But the battle is far from over. So all of that to say, auditthevotepa.com/donations. Go there and donate. If you have never before, consider becoming a regular monthly donor to help support our ongoing efforts. Your money will go to one of the 5 programs or things that I just talked about, or consider volunteering for us if you could. Let me see, Joel, I think, is that everything? Did I forget anything?
I think so.
We went way long. Oh my gosh, way long. J6. All right. I'm being risky by letting you play a funny video that I haven't yet vetted, but I think we're just going to do it.
I think you can trust me by now.
Okay.
Let's see. This is just funny. Well, these are both AI generated, but they are quite amusing. They're quick. I could watch AI videos all day long. They crack me up. Now that one was quite poignant. This one's just funny, commenting on just how insanely tall Barron Trump gets every time we see him. And this I thought was quite hilarious. AI depiction of how tall he is.
Oh, I saw this. I did see this.
Yeah.
Because he's like 9 feet. He's 7
30
feet tall.
feet tall there in this video, probably something like that.
Yes.
There you go.
I showed this to my kids. They loved it.
That was all.
Laughter is always good. I feel like we really needed laughter. I focused on laughter over the last 4 years because what we were watching happen to our country was so devastating. We needed to laugh. We still need to laugh. This is good. Oh, he's gone. Send him to a rest home. Send the man to a rest home. All the pardons. I can't believe all the pardons. Diane, thank you. Lancaster County case of fraudulent voter applications that were caught is sent to the AG for further investigation. I hope that goes somewhere. I spoke to my attorney friend Tom Carroll about us getting together with Dave Sunday and seeing if we can get some of these things drilled down on, investigated, and prosecuted. A little bit disgruntled maybe by the team I saw put together for the Dave Sunday's transition team. A lot of people on there that I wouldn't consider on our side when it comes to election integrity. Certainly don't appear to be patriots that were on there. Carrie Lewis Del Rosso is one of them. There were several on that transition team that I was like, oh no, really? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Education is key. The fix is local. And I guess with that, we'll sign off. I'm yapping 121 minutes. Oh my gosh, I need some sleep. An hour and 21 minutes. Monday night, we got in at 3:30 in the morning and had our normal day on Tuesday after the most incredible experience with that inauguration. But anyway, you guys have a great week. Next week, we have on deck Dr. Doug Frank from Ohio is going to be joining us next week. And we're going to be unveiling more information about our voter registration. How did Pennsylvania, the untold story of Trump's win in Pennsylvania, was it really early voting and chasing mail-in ballots, or was there maybe a little bit more to it? Pro tip, there's way more to it. So we'll see you guys next week.
9 p.m. Wednesdays.
9 p.m. Wednesday.
Hit those bells and buttons. Share us. Spread the word. Please donate.
Thank you. Thank you, Joel. Good night, everybody.